Hello, I'm Patrick, and along with Courtney and Emily, I've spent the last 2 years in Hong Kong trying to help out a church there. And although it's really hard to summarize 2 years in a short video, I did just want to give you an overview of what God has been doing in the church there, because it's been really encouraging. And I know Summitview has helped support our efforts there, so I just wanted everyone to be able to see the fruit of their labor in digging in and just benefiting us in going there. So the church there has actually been there for quite a while, but it has been kind of aging. A lot of the kids have moved out to other countries. So it's a lot of older people, and the church is really good at loving each other, but they didn't really do much outreach before we got there. So we joined in with the church, and things proceeded kind of as they had been for at least the first few months we were there. But then about November, one of the leaders of the church had to leave for various reasons, and it put the church in a crisis mode. It's just a really small church, didn't have enough people to even operate Sundays when he had left. So the church was really wondering what to do. They thought about shutting down, but they took a big step of faith and they said, well, we don't really have much to lose, so let's try moving to a new area. So the church was in kind of a central area of Hong Kong where people could come from all over, but they wanted to move to an area where quite a few of the church members lived so they could outreach more to the neighborhood. And this actually turned out to be a really good thing for the church, because the idea of starting a new building in a new location just made everyone a lot more missional. They wanted to be able to outreach to their friends and to the neighbors and to get a lot of energy going into this church. So there's just a huge difference in a lot of the members and how they outreached. And there's one lady, a friend of some of the members, that got saved right away, and she's just a super awesome disciple. She's learning real quick, reading her Bible. She's actually leading a Bible study right now at the church. And the other thing from this is we're able to see that God had sent us there for a purpose. So in the book of Esther, Mordecai tells Esther, who knows whether you've been brought into the kingdom for a time such as this? And I felt it was the same for us. Who knows whether God had brought us to Hong Kong for a time such as that, that we would be able to be there for this church transition. And each of us were able to help the church in a big way to be able to move and be successful in starting a new location. So I actually helped start teaching on Sunday morning. And although I don't consider myself a good public speaker, I think God had been training me up in the last couple years to be able to fulfill this role. And then Emily was also able to help out with strengthening the children's ministry program, and Courtney was able to help out with worship. And so we had this church just going strong. Everyone's excited about the new building, and we were able to move successfully to our new place. And this just happened right in time because the protest hit right before we moved.
The water cannon promptly deployed. The so-called Raptor snatch squads at full pace. And scores of arrests.
And this was really God's blessing in moving the church, because if we had been in our old location, we would have probably had to cancel church for about 2 months straight because it was just in a high protest area. But because we were in the newer area, we were able to meet every time. I think we just canceled like one prayer meeting, but that was it. And the new building also helped us to be able to welcome some of the people that might have felt alienated because of the protests, because there's different factions of people that didn't quite fit in with Hong Kong, especially when the protests were going. So we were able to use our new building to welcome them, and as well as do events with high schoolers, like we do a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas party, just to get a lot of people together and build relationships to help share the gospel. And so we started a new place. There wasn't a whole lot of people joining, but everyone's just excited about outreaching. We had people kind of come and visit. And the church wanted to start a Bible study to help draw more people in. So they started the training and everything for it about December or January, and they were going to start the actual one to invite people in August. But of course COVID hit, and they didn't know exactly what to do, but they decided, well, some people have been doing stuff on Zoom, let's try just doing what we're going to do on Zoom. And this actually ended up being a benefit, because at that point a lot of people were craving fellowship with people. And so we had a ton of people join it. There's actually more people going to the Bible study than going to church. And all these people were just going, and they're hearing the gospel and studying God's word. And through that, God was just doing amazing things. And we really saw the fruit of it this summer, where in the past 3 months we've had 7 salvations in our church. And so a lot of them are older people that had just come with their friends, and they've been really cool. But we did have a couple younger people as well. So one was the daughter of one of the core church members. She was stuck in quarantine with her mom for 2 weeks and just heard the gospel a lot and got saved. Then we had another guy that had just been hanging out with us for a year. He really didn't believe God at first, but he just kept hanging out with us, coming to church, and God was working on his heart and completely changed it so he'd believe. And then another guy is just a really cool story about how God can use just doing little things. So he had met some people through an English camp a long time ago, and he's still connected with Chinyu. So he came to church one day, and I had a conversation with him, but it was difficult because his English wasn't very strong. And I didn't think I'd see him again. But I got his contact information, and just the next morning, he just messaged me just good morning, and I would respond good morning back. And so this just went on for several weeks of just saying good morning back and forth. And this actually made a huge impact in his life. I thought it was just a little thing, but he just felt really cared for and loved, so he kept coming around their church. He started doing the Bible study, and he got saved as well. And so now we have those 2 guys, and there's another guy he's doing school in Australia, but because it's on Zoom, he can be in Hong Kong. And so we have just a little small group of just young disciples ready to learn more about God. And then our other things we were working on, we had a Bible study on campus, and we had one guy jumped in right away. He'd kind of moved away. We didn't know if he'd come back, but he came back for 1 year, and he's actually living with me now. And so I have an opportunity just to build into him more than I thought was possible. So it's just a really cool thing moving forward. It'll just be me moving forward, but we have a lot of young disciples in the church and a lot of work that God is doing there. Chemical engineering. So I have 3 more years of the PhD, and I'm not sure where God will lead. Maybe it'll be somewhere over in Asia where I can be lecturing at a university, or maybe it'll just be coming back here and doing research and development at a company. Can work along with. So there's lots of people I can build into, and I have a couple older people that build into me, but maybe a few more pure relationships. I think just be. It's hard to answer that. Yeah, I think it's just people's prayers, and yeah, people will respond. We send update emails. Just tell me how you're doing. It's good. Still communicate with quite a few people in the U.S. It's a big blessing to just hear people are doing well here as well.